is to organize and to fight back. And that's what this strike is all about. The battle we wage is one for justice and equity for all workers in this state. Union brothers and sisters, stand united. Our fight is not over. It has just begun, and we will prevail.
This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island.
There's going to be longer lines everywhere throughout the state, so everybody's going to be impacted by it.
Everyone who relies on state highway workers to fix their roads, psychologists and guards to watch over the state mental hospital in Salem, and the people who keep public university campuses clean. If all of them go on strike, the impact depends on what state services you rely on.
The essentials of campus would be saved, but the menu would be reduced to the basics. So would virtually every state office.
Well, in 1987, we went out on a rolling strike, which means we took different units out at different times across the state over a period of 9 days. In this case, we would be shutting the entire state down.
OPEU could effectively be in the driver's seat and shut down DMV operations.
A limitation on collective bargaining for state worker unions, requiring public employee compensation plans to include the worth of benefits as total pay, and the prospect of a 6% salary reduction beginning July 1st. The makings of a profound disagreement are the makings of a strike.
We've never seen such an attack on public employees.
In the last couple of years, we have exposed some of the problems with the public employee bargaining and some of the deals they're getting that are just not good deals. They're incredible deals. And we have to keep in mind that the taxpayers are actually paying these bills.
They see us as too powerful. They see that they think that we have had our way for years here, and that's not true.
Right now, the benefits provided to state employees are double, twice as much as that provided by a large Oregon employer.
We've gone from very good benefits to medium now because of ballot measure 8, and now they're looking at substandard benefits. They're going too far.
And their screams and whatever, that the world is falling, the sky is falling, it's just a bunch of baloney. You know, we're just trying to do what's reasonable and what's best for all Oregonians.
Bob Tiernan has focused his attacks on public employees, and we felt that it was important that our message be heard as well.
So he's sort of the dinosaur mentality that is destroying all workers' rights. So he's been personified in our buddy here. I was gonna burn him, but I think I'm gonna keep him forever now. Piece of union history.
Oregon's public employees voted tonight to strike in early May.
That's right. Dave Thompson was at one of the employee gatherings tonight to make the decision on that.
Lars, these posters are now almost official. Barring a last-minute settlement, the strike will happen May 6th. And from the comments of the state workers we talked to tonight, the actual vote was a foregone conclusion. Union leaders say 93% of those voting approved a strike. The excitement of the crowd belied the seriousness of their situation.
Our members are very serious and very solid and committed to obtaining a fair settlement in this contract negotiation. Do you accept a 6% salary reduction in July?
15,000 state employees met in 24 locations around the state this evening, just like this one in Portland.
They say take back! We say strike back!
One group marched to the meeting from the nearby state office building to make their point. Judy Smith brought along her 4-year-old daughter.
She deserves better, too. I mean, I need to make enough to get by for both of us, and if I can't get by, she can't get by either.
We say strike back!
We bargained. Independent fact finder found that, yes, this is the raise they should have. The state said no. So that's why we're going to do this today.
And there are a lot of our people that do qualify for the benefits that we give, the adult and family services food stamps.
Now, a number of state workers told me tonight they're not striking just over the effects of Measure 8, which of course forces them to pay part of their pension, in effect cuts their salary 6%. They want a 6.5% wage increase, something an independent fact finder recommended recently, and state workers say they want respect.
The roughly 90,000 other members of the several hundred other unions in the state are rapidly lining up behind the OPEU. And if and when they come up against an OPEU picket line, they will respond in union fashion.
Not to go to work. I mean, if they have a construction project that is ongoing and it's picketed, I would expect that they would not go to work across the picket line.
That means Teamsters might leave critical supplies like copy paper sitting in warehouses. Construction workers might halt projects.
The service deliveries will be disrupted, and that government will not be business as usual.
Oregon Public Employee Union members wrapped the Lane County Courthouse, chanted, and spoke on behalf of better wages.
I think that the public was misled by ballot measure 8. I think that the salaries that were presented as, that people are making too much money were not salaries that we all make. It was management.
These workers take issue with Governor Kitzhaber's attempt to give raises to only certain classes of state workers.
When you look at what the legislature and the executive department is offering off, there's no money there offered for office workers. They're saying they have money for other professional classes and so forth, but the traditionally lowest paid people in the state are office workers and clerical types.
McGuire says many of these women also happen to be single moms. And they seem more than prepared to enforce a 3-day strike that may occur May 8th if a settlement isn't reached.
Organizers say today's rally humanizes the effects of a proposal to reduce state employees' bargaining rights.
It doesn't seem reasonable to me. If I had somebody and I wanted them to do a more than a good job for me, and I wanted them to go the extra mile for me, which we do, even now, I wouldn't reduce their pay and benefits. I wouldn't attack them with, you don't have this right.
We don't find any debate about granting $500 or $600 million tax break to large corporations to move into the Portland area. But have a public employee talk about a 6% pay raise, and these people go into orbit.
Workers from the OEPU and numerous other unions are joined together in Hawthorne Park to show their support for each other. Strikes are fun and games today, but barring an unforeseen break in negotiation, it will be all too serious come May 8th.
For the last 5 weeks, compensation experts have been comparing what Oregon pays its employees against what private companies and other local governments pay theirs. When salary and benefits are combined, experts say state workers lag behind.
Most occupational groups are below market. Not terribly low for the most part, but low.
The task force report examined 23,000 jobs, from top management to entry-level maintenance work. The average worker, the report says, earned 90.9% of the market rate, or 9% less than what others are paid for the same work. In some cases, the gap was wider. Public safety workers earned only 85% of market, administrators only 87%. The report falls right into line to what the state's largest union has been telling the state for months. State employees are underpaid.
We think it validates what we've been saying all along, and that is that state workers' pay and benefits on average are behind those of their counterparts in the private sector.
What do we want? When do we want it?
The Oregon Public Employees Union banded together today with public employees from all over the state of Oregon. Their message is clear.
I'm ready to walk. I've had enough. I think it's something that needs to be done.
The OPEU wants to stop what they call the mean-spirited agenda of the legislature.
Pension rollbacks, open shop, contracting out, pay inequities, elimination of the 8-hour working day, and fishbowl negotiations, to name just a few. These are not attacks just on public workers. These are attacks on the entire labor movement.
Posters are being marked
No, I'm not a writer.
and taped and stapled.
When Measure 8 passed in November, it was the torch that lit the flame of revolt by state employees all over Oregon. Most of the people who showed up here work at OIT, but their jobs and many others will be left empty when the statewide strike starts.
I'm a telephone man.
I'm a clerical worker.
I'm a systems analyst at OIT. Financially, it's going to be a real hardship on myself and on a lot of families. But we can't afford not to do it. The legislature has the money to give us the raise. The neutral fact finder found that the 6.5% increase was a fair wage proposal. The state is just not bargaining in good faith.
Workers are angry at the state's response to their demand for a pay raise to balance things out, but they're furious at the men who brought Measure 8 to life.
S-S-I-Z-E-M-O-R-E. Bill Sizemore and Bob Tiernan have been instrumental in trying to hurt the small people in the state.
And the bottom line for all of us in the middle?
Well, everything will be a lot slower.
None of us really want to go on strike. We need a pay raise. This is my little girl, and, you know, I can't afford to feed her on this money.
Union and state negotiators are meeting separately tonight. A mediator shuffles back and forth between them. The strike is expected to begin in less than 30 minutes and last for 3 days.
There comes a time when the members make that kind of a decision. The workers have made that decision in this instance. This strike is not against the public. It can't help but affect the public in certain ways, but it's affecting our members too, and we hope that if it's necessary to go forward, that it will end quickly.
I was on 2 hours because I'm on graveyard shift, and basically we just did everything we could for the patients before we left, and then walked out at midnight.
From agony to anger, Port of Entry employees in Southern Oregon were picketing along Interstate 5 after midnight. Border Patrol employees and even some waymasters are off the jobs and on the line.
By 7 o'clock this morning, thousands of picket signs greeted morning commuters. Officially, the state says 12,000 employees who were scheduled to work today went out on strike.
There's no way that management can maintain services with the amount of compliance that we have with these picket lines.
OPEU represents more than 400 workers on the PSU campus. More than 300 secretaries, library workers, and other frontline employees are walking the picket lines this evening. The professors are not members of the union, but in a show of support, one class moved off the campus to the South Park block so students could hear their lecture there. Professors didn't have to cross those picket lines.
Bob Rogers walks this picket line for the second time.
I was here on the 87 strike, and we thought that would be it, that we would never see any more strikes.
All's quiet today here in Bob Rogers' office. That's pretty much the story throughout the department. As you walk along the hallway, you see each office is empty. The phones are quiet, the computers are off. There's not a lot of work getting done around here.
You have a right to belong to a union, you have a right to a decent wage, and a right to benefits.
And for that reason, Rogers says he again exercises another right to walk out, even if he doesn't know when he'll be back.
Here on the South Coast, an expected 600 public employees are striking.
Well, here in Roseburg, many of the state services have also come to a halt or at least severely curtailed.
By law, the one place on campus that wasn't affected today by the strike was the classroom. But that didn't stop some faculty members from holding a noontime rally outside of class to show their support for those on the picket lines.
Faculty have to find a multiple number of ways to support the strike.
What surprised me about the whole rally was the large number of people that came in from outlying areas of Oregon. A couple folks told me they got up at 1 a.m. just to get here, and they feel that it was worth it.
If you take one of us on!
They're the people who repair the roads, help the handicapped, check our taxes.
I think our morale is excellent. We're fired up for this. We're ready to go. We think we deserve it, and we're going to press for it.
I have co-workers that are supporting families 20 hours a week, and they can't afford this pay cut.
You can see from Sky 8 the beginning of their march today on the Capitol. They gathered at the state fairgrounds. Their procession then formed a long line, snaking out the entrance and towards downtown. It is, as you say, a display of strength and unity not often seen during any strike. The organizers appeared excited over the turnout.
From Sky 8, you can see the march everyone's talking about in Salem. Oregon public workers took their strike to the Capitol, hand-delivering their message to lawmakers who control the purse strings.
We say strike back. We're going to strike back. We want our 6.5% back.
My message is, you're expecting more out of me. I'm giving more, and you're cutting my pay 6%. And I don't like it.
Our workers are out here today. We hope the legislature will pay attention. And we stand ready to negotiate and hope that we can reach a reasonable settlement.
We're tired. We're hungry. We want to go back to work.
From Ontario to Lincoln City, Medford to McMinnville, state workers carpooled and bused to Salem to show their strength and their anger.
Hey, I mean, when you got a wife and kids and you're working 40 hours a week and you still qualify for welfare, excuse me. All we're asking for is just to stay even with inflation.
As they marched through Salem, state police blocked roads, and residents watched the parade of protesters.
We won't take no more.
The protesters ended their march on the mall opposite the Capitol.
You're looking at the largest rally of its kind in front of the state capitol in Salem.
Thousands of OPEU members and supporters take their demands for more money all the way to the top.
7,000 workers and their families joined ranks in this show of force.
And from state police estimates, one of the largest stands ever taken here on the Capitol grounds.
We have been in the crosshairs of hate mongers who have no understanding of who we are, what we do, and absolutely no appreciation for the services we provide.
Unlike previous demonstrations, this protest took an unusual turn, with strikers marching through the school's administration building, their songs and chants inspiring U of O President Dave Frohmeyer to come out of his office.
It almost rained on this parade, but the threat of showers couldn't keep striking public employees from this show of solidarity.
State Senator Greg Walden owns the stations. The Hood River Republican met with many of the strikers Tuesday. They wanted to reinforce their message today. This strike has taken on a much more hostile tone. The union is now accusing the John Kitzhaber administration of breaking labor law by issuing a lockout order to striking state employees.
We've demanded at the bargaining table that by 10 o'clock tonight, the governor needs to retract the threat of lockout of workers. We believe it is illegal. We have said that at the bargaining table. The state is in the process now deciding how they're going to deal with that. But the fact is, if the governor allows his staff to lock out workers, it will be the first time in the 20-year history of collective bargaining in this state that any public official has locked his or her workers out.
Got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Equal pay.
About 150 OPEU members descended on the private office of Senator Gene Doerfler. They say they picked Doerfler as a target because of his support of Senate Bill 750, which proposes to radically revamp the state's collective bargaining statute. Strikers claim the senator has gone on record as opposing public workers, so they wanted to send a signal.
State Senator Gene Doerfler has quit his job with a real estate firm in Salem. He says OPEU picketing outside the business last week led to his resignation.
Students unite to end the strike.
I would urge everyone to look very seriously at the issues involved in your claim. I would urge the public to familiarize themselves better with what is at issue. You have our friendship and our deepest support.
Help for the victims of the Oklahoma bomb blast is coming from state workers at the University of Oregon. The scene from Oklahoma City motivated state workers to help.
If state workers get a raise, Oklahoma City is going to happen again, and I guarantee it will happen again. If they can't have a raise, they're too high paid already. The state. It's no idle threat. It will happen. Bye.
The eerie message was waiting for union officials at the OPEU office in southeast Portland early this morning.
In light of what happened in Oklahoma City, we obviously take that much more seriously than we might have had it occurred before that incident.
You have to take threats seriously like that.
Striking workers are concerned but not surprised, especially those who've been threatened before.
We understand that there is a segment of society that's very hostile toward government and will act out that hostility on workers.
But the threat alone has some state employees looking over their shoulder.
I'd lose some of the freedom that I thought I had.
A Salem man is in custody tonight for making a threatening telephone call to striking state workers. 33-year-old Andrew Eugene Ringseth is now under arrest for making that call. Oregon State Police detectives say that tips from the public led to his arrest. Ringseth is charged with 1 count of menacing. That is a Class A misdemeanor.
Striking workers drew the attention of Vancouver commuters this morning on the interstate bridge. Pickets say the public hasn't gotten the message yet that they are serious about this strike. Union members say that they plan to remain on strike as long as possible.
A settlement may be closer. State forecasters say a strong economy will generate an extra $32 million in tax revenues, more than enough to cover the difference between the union and the state.
100 striking workers stage a sit-in at the governor's office. With them, our own Tom Fuller, who was the only reporter inside. He takes us now behind closed doors.
At this point, we're waiting for the governor's call.
Calling themselves the Flying Squadron 101, 101 OPEU members came into the governor's ceremonial office, sat down, and refused to leave. The move clearly took state police by surprise, who quickly shut off access in and out. But the group remained peaceful. All they wanted, they said, was to take their case directly to Governor John Kitzhaber. Governor, where are you? But the governor wasn't even in Salem. He was on the coast giving a speech. So the group passed time by telling stories and encouraging one another that their purpose here was just and right. State police set a 5 o'clock deadline. After that, the group would be trespassing. But the deadline came and went with no arrests. Clearly, the governor was taking the patient route. No access to restrooms or food was allowed, but the Flying Squadron came prepared, passing out candy around dinner time. Then came the frustrations, and no word from Governor Kitzhaber.
I think people here are prepared to spend Mother's Day here.
Here in the governor's office or out front?
No, here in the governor's office.
Prepared to stay, the group held hands and swayed back and forth, singing songs of solidarity. Then, finally, the word came. At 20 after 7, the governor himself would speak to them.
Do you people have an appointment?
Kitzhaber broke the ice, but then turned ice cold, saying this was not the time nor the place to solve the strike.
Now, if you want to spend the weekend in my office, I'm not going to have you thrown out. But if you are as committed as I am to finding a fair and equitable resolution to this contract dispute, then you will focus your attention across the bargaining table.
And then it was over. Kitzhaber reaffirmed what he's been saying all along, but the strikers did get their face-to-face meeting. Carla Spence saying, at least we made a point.
That's where it is, folks. It is in front of the governor's mansion, Mahonia Hall. That is here in Salem. They have marched all the way to the governor's mansion. Again, a continuation, if you will, of yesterday's sit-in protest at the state capitol. Many of these public employees calling on the governor to support them.
For negotiators, this weekend has been like a slumber party from hell. Little sleep, and until tonight, little news for public employees. Then, just after 9 p.m., Oregon Public Employee Union reps had this to say.
We're announcing tonight that state employees will be returning to work tomorrow, Monday, May 15th.
State workers will return to work, but without a contract. The reason for returning to work, union leaders cite what they call significant progress on key issues.
Workers wore red armbands to indicate that they're working without a settlement to the labor dispute.
The strike is a big weapon that the union has. And if they use it, it probably means they're less likely to use it in the future because they've shown they do have the power and they can resort to that if need be.
OPEU! OPEU! Today's agreement prompted a chorus of cheers, but some genuine relief.
We've hung together as a team. We're very pleased with the ratification, with the contract settlement, and I'm going to vote yes.
I'm going to recommend everybody vote yes, and it was well worth it.
I think that our bargaining team did a real good job bargaining against real difficult problems, and I'm glad we struck, and I'd do it again if I had to do it.
It's not because of, fancy maneuvers at the bargaining table or the generosity of the state of Oregon. It's because our workers got every dollar that we've negotiated in this settlement.
For the record, the strike began May 8th. Pickets ringed 4 dozen state agencies. After a week, the pickets came down, workers returned to their jobs, and the strike took a different form. Both sides negotiated while strikers raised the stakes by occupying the governor's ceremonial office. An ugly bomb threat also raised the public's anxiety level.
There's no idle threat. It will happen. Bye.
Both sides negotiated inside this building for 26 straight hours before emerging with a settlement.
It was worth every minute. Somebody has to show them that we're voters, we're your neighbors, your friends, your cousins. We are basically the people who provide those services, and hooray for our side.
When we wave our signs, they'll pay attention. And I pick it up.